Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And Bill, we have received communication from a listener. I'm so excited about that.
We have.
That's great.
It's really important.
I think, this is something we should invite more listeners to do, to engage with us. And I'm excited for you to share with us this, excerpt, at least from I think it would take too long to read the whole thing, but excerpt from this email. And I think we should talk about it.
Well, yeah, thanks, Tom. One of the delightful things when we do get feedback from this podcast is that we get some really ways that we can go into certain areas that really will help the listener to get a greater ability to shift their communication in order to be more effective. And one of the things that the listener wrote is that we took some time to teach the listener how to dismantle a belief system that they might have, or even what the other person might have, so we can hear the truth more effectively. That was one of his recommendations, and that's a really pretty good recommendation. And I haven't really, and we haven't really received very many or even if any, I think negative feedback that saying, oh, what you're talking about truth and language isn't really true. We haven't gotten that one, Tom, because, well, that one would really be not really true. Because
it would be, troubling.
It'd be troubling. It's like, because words make a difference in the words. And one of the things that we talked about last time is the vibration of words. If you call somebody an idiot, are they going to be more receptive to the next thing you say? So the vibration of the word idiot or stupid or whatever, as well as many other words, will tend not to get people to listen to you. So if we use and replace the word idiot or stupid with the word awareness, the chances of the person listening to us and shifting their awareness to at least consider your awareness or the offering that you just offered, things will tend to go better. So, rather than saying, hey, that idea is stupid, let me see if I am clear about the awareness that you have about this. And then, this is the awareness that I have about it. And all of a sudden, at least you're in some kind of dialogue versus a monologue of labels, monologue of diagnoses. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Yeah, and that's whether it's an impeachment piece or whether it's a quid pro quo or whether it's a town hall that people that the Congress people are holding or senators hold. It really makes a big difference that you pick words that are going to make a difference. So
I think it does. And I think maybe we should also acknowledge the reality that each of us, including you and me, Bill, have our own perspectives and our own inherent biases. I think everybody on earth has them to a degree. Hopefully people have more awareness about their biases, because I think that's helpful, but we don't always. And, I just want to make a brief statement here that we're trying to look at things from all sides, despite our own, perspectives.
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
And sometimes we may succeed more than others at other times. Um, and but anyway, it's our goal. I mean, I think we call out Republicans in this show for their tragic use of language, or their distance away from truth, as
Right.
much as we do Democrats. I mean, I hope, but there's
Yeah.
obviously a lot more to talk about right now with the president. So I think
So
the
here's
volume's turned up there.
so we have done an episode on the truth scale, the 7 steps away from truth,
Yes.
and to just to take a moment to remind this listening audience is that the closest a person can be to the truth, it's not fully on the truth, but the closest that you can be to the truth is the language of observation. That's the closest you can be. As soon as you move to evaluation, like even you and I are talking right now, we've drifted into evaluation. We move away from truth a little bit. Observation is what the person is seeing. So the simple example of a colorblind person that does not see greens, or that does not see the color green, has and the color green changes to the color gray for them, because my dad was that guy.
Ah.
So I go, Dad, you can't see the green light? He goes, no, I can't see that the color is green, right? I go, because it looks gray to me. I go, okay, so how do you know what green looks like when you've never seen green? And then once we got him those glasses that were able to change things, it's
Right.
like, oh my gosh, he was able to like see that, oh, that's what the world looks like to everyone else, you know? So the power of observation, and and getting a person into a place of observation is is significant. It is so very, very, very valuable, because and appreciate that a person can't see something. So Tom, if you're brought up in a Muslim country where the religion and everyone around you is thinking in that belief structure of Islam and thinking that way, and then you go to another place that the entire culture is Hindu. Well, the belief structures are sitting way in different places, with an entire range of behaviors. So when it comes to politics and voting, regrettably, if you're staying inside your bubble, you're going to keep seeing the bubble. You just will. You're only going to see the people that are talking in your environment. If you only go to one church, you're only going to see and resonate with the church and the people in that church and the people who believe the things that they do in that church. And that's going to influence truth. And it just does. And observation allows us to become more objective. Okay. As soon as we move down towards judgment of right or wrong, as soon as we move really away from truth. We really do. So a bias allows us to stand in a certain place. A bias, a belief bias, gives us a form of certainty. It's not really true, but it is certain for us. So if I have a if I have a belief about, and I know we talked about this, is the shape of the world, whether it's flat or round, just notice when I said whether it's flat or round. That puts it as an equal observation. But wait a minute. Those two things are not equal, because we don't have equal number of pictures of a flat earth. We don't have that. But as soon as it's whether or, our brain makes those two things 50-50.
So it puts our brain in the condition to really think, well, it might be flat.
That's right. It does. It might be. It might be that. And when there's a hijacking, and because it literally is people trying to get people to believe in a certain way, to vote in a certain way, what winds up happening is that we get away from common needs such as truth and common needs such as integrity or fairness or what justice looks like, because we start globalizing and making things, now they call the phrase false equivalency. It's the brain creates a false equivalency once you put one thing next to each other and says whether it can be. The brain just makes them both even. They're not even. This has a bunch of evidence and this has this evidence. Here's the fact over here. These are the people that study this.
Well, this is what we saw certain people doing. When was it? The past summer when, especially the Attorney General, William Barr, put, surveillance with a warrant next to spying. You remember?
That's correct.
And he said that he put those two next to each other and he was trying to make them appear to be the same thing. And then everybody, especially on the right side of the political spectrum, started calling what the FBI was doing, which now we've had a report come out that said that at least that the investigation was started with integrity and it was not politically motivated. Mistakes were made. We need to acknowledge that along the way for sure. But certainly the FBI was not spying on people, and they do not, they spying is usually, I guess, CIA doing something maybe in another country, some sort of other kind of surveillance, or that certainly people that are not within the government do.
Yeah, it's looking into people's privacy without the search for or the legal approval of the court system, which protects those people from being looked at. And it's not that in the world that there aren't people, trying to find information without any legal evidence to go find that information. I mean, there's companies that spy on other companies. They just do that. And they're as a part of the competitive environment. Yeah. And, that there's people that do that. And there's individuals that go look for evidence that, even though it's been disproved, they're not interested in the evidence. They're interested in the potential of, they're trying to hijack that there might be the possibility of that this thing might be there. And they want the confused person to stay confused and become more confused and make it that, this person can't be trusted because of this thing,
Right. And so spying is commonly thought of as bad. Therefore, surveillance must be bad. And we're not even going to call it surveillance anymore. We're going to label it spying.
Correct. Surveillance is a legal function. Spying is an illegal function from the court of law perspective. Correct.
Right.
You can't spy on people unless there is a probable cause, there is a founded piece of information that says, you kind of got to look here because there's something going on over here.
Yeah, it's justified in at least legal sense. Yeah. Okay.
Now, if the bias is creating certainty, and we want to stay with certainty, that bias another person might have the opposite bias. So, for example, in a town hall, we've been seeing, different representatives go out to different town halls, and they'll go out and talk to the constituents, and regrettably, they don't have the level of communication skills I would like them to have, because they would draw the bias out first rather than just trying to promote their bias. I would probably, if I was facilitating or coaching or providing consulting to a candidate, it would sound like, welcome the illusion that the person has in their brain that's their bias, because that illusion, that has a piece of bias that needs to be cleaned up. And in high conflict mediation, I am pulling that stuff to me. I am not trying to talk over or trying to prove a bias wrong.
Well, very
Does that
interesting,
make sense?
Bill. That makes a lot of sense. And so, yeah, I want to bring a real example into this. So just this week that we're recording this, prior to the vote on impeachment, Michigan Representative Elissa Slotkin had a town hall in Rochester, Michigan, which is in her district. And she won in 2018, won a district that flipped from a Republican representative to a Democratic representative. She had a town hall to communicate to her district why she had decided to vote for impeaching the president when she had been very much against it. When people were talking about it earlier in the year in the context of the Mueller report, and
Right.
she didn't come to Congress to impeach the president. She came to get things done for her district, but she's gotten to the point where she is absolutely now voting for impeachment, and actually did, and she wanted to explain it. And she had a town hall full of just as many supporters of Trump as people who are not. And I want to acknowledge the integrity that it took to stand up and say, hey, here's what I see. The evidence is undeniable, and I have to vote my conscience and support the Constitution because that's the oath I took, and I need to vote to impeach the president. But what she did not do is what you're suggesting right now, Bill.
That's correct. That's
so
right.
What could she have done to draw it out and have communicated more effectively, that might have those people in the audience who were thinking that she was making the wrong decision, maybe put aside some of their bias and approach it differently?
Well, I mean, there's a practical thing to do. With some skill and some training, she could invite a person that would like to speak on behalf of the president, and have that person sit on stage with her and have a discussion, and really pull out the person's belief about how important their vote was for this president, as well as some of their other beliefs that are holding that belief in place, which is the belief is that might be they're not giving him a chance. They're not doing the things he would like to get done, and they have a lot of pain about the things that they would like to get done, that they think that Trump is going to help get done. Now, what winds up happening then in that discussion, the dialogue, is that the person that is in the red hat that is will be talking about the pain that they're having, the pain they're having that they lost the job, the pain that they had regarding the medical issue that they have, that they thought that Trump was going to do something about, the pain that they have about what somebody said regarding a non-conservative value, that they have some pain about that. And then this gives a lightning rod, the impeachment vote gives a lightning rod to all of those pains, and they just say, wait a minute, I voted for this guy. I want him to do the things that he said he was going to do. And regrettably, candidates get to promise anything they want, sometimes the candidates promise things that are outside the legal ability for them to do. And Trump had made many of those promises of things he couldn't do. And so the voter, the listener says, oh, I like that. That sounds like that you're a person that can make a decision where all these people are not making decisions. And they don't have enough time. They don't have enough energy to see actually how civics works and how government works and how do you get a collective decision versus getting one person's decision being met with others. Corporations getting their needs met ahead of the needs of a city. That happens in many cities. There's many corporations that are in the city that they're in, and they're getting way more benefit than the person that the people that are in that city who has to deal with either the pollution that the company does, the tax break that doesn't allow doesn't feed the city that needs to, and the quality of collaboration and cooperation is not there. So without going on to the monologue too bad here, what Slotkin had to face was, how do I talk to this person in one red hat? You got to be able to do the one red hat person. So they're gonna run the greatest hits of the hat. The greatest hits: build the wall, manufacturing jobs. He said he was going to do this. The Chinese, he's being tough to them, and if you just be tough, then things are going to work out because we need some tough people. We don't need some soft negotiators. And meanwhile, anybody that has raised children, you're tough on your child, they will let you have it, or they'll let themselves have it later through drugs and alcohol, or rebelling against grades, or having a fight at school. They'll let somebody else have it. If you're tough on them, they're gonna let it's the whole kick the dog, right? It's the you can be tough on China, but as soon as they were, guess what? Sorry, we're not buying your soybeans anymore, and we're changing our channel of distribution. So you're not out; you are out for the next 15 years.
Right.
Because we just changed our channel of distribution because the deal we were getting from you is not a deal anymore. So we're going over to get a better deal, and therefore, good luck on those soybeans you got growing on over there, because we're not buying them from you anymore. We're buying them over there. Now, what? So yeah, it's a short-term, demand, but regrettably, it's the same thing having to do with children. If you let them have it early, they're going to make you pay for it. Adults don't do that. I mean, adults do it, but there's all kinds of consequences. So Slotkin at least faced it with integrity. She stood there and doing it. And if she were to stay more around hearing the person's pain, whether it was from the place of support or care for themselves or care for their families, or the possibility, because one of the things that Trump sold during the thing was the possibility of change, the possibility of something different happening for them as a voter. And he got some stuff done for some rich people, but for the military, he got some stuff done, and that's the rich people and the industrial complex of the military. But as far as other needs for respect for America overseas, he's struggling there. So
sure. Well, even if representative, if the representative had gone and just made a more empathetic statement about the people that were there, and she could see they were there and acknowledge them and saying, hey, I understand you feel the president was elected, and he should serve his full term. And, we shouldn't be wasting our time trying to, remove him,
Okay,
and
so
then,
I would have phrased that thing that you just said instead
yep.
of "I understand."
Mm,
I would have phrased it this way, and this is the communication nuance that I kind of get into it. Is saying, so there's many of the people in this audience. I'm pretending I'm her right now.
right,
There's
right.
people in this audience that would fully like me to hear that that we should not be spending our time on this impeachment. Do I have that correct? A group of people in the audience would applaud,
Yeah, they would.
right?
I'm sure.
Now all of a sudden, we've just at least heard them. Now you come back around and say the next sentence, which is, we want to make sure in the United States that every vote counts. And your vote that voted for Donald Trump counted too. And we want to validate that vote. Am I hearing that second part right? Yes. Now I've got my second set of applause. Now, the other side are going to be unsettled as crap. But you
Yeah.
know what?
Yeah. The uncertainty.
That's up to them. Now all of a sudden it's like, and there's other people in the room that would not, have voted for the president. And I have the great fortune to sit here in front of you to be able to support both of you to get something done. Now, one of the biggest challenges that I face and the integrity I have to do as your representative is when I take that oath, I have to take that oath to this sentence over here. And this is the sentence I'm reading. Then she just reads off the Constitution. You can't take money from a foreign power. You can't use, money.
Yeah.
And now I get to talk. There have been many mistakes that President Trump has made that I would have preferred him not to make. There was many choices that he has made that I would have preferred him not to make those choices. And this one choice that he made is something that is against the oath that I took.
And that actually jeopardizes your vote, right? I mean, that's where you could do that.
Then it actually jeopardizes the vote that you cast towards him, because you saw him as a change maker. And he has changed things. Some people would argue for the better, and some people would argue for the worse. But as your representative, I got to follow that thing that the founders wrote in order to be in integrity. Now, if I vote no, I am not in integrity with what the founders wrote. Because here is this strategy that he took. Now, we could talk about the motive of the strategy, that he heard or he has some information that none of us have, that there is some corruption with the Bidens. You would like me to hear that. Is that correct with anybody? Yes, I would like to hear more about that. That's an important thing to hear about if we had more truth around that, as well as if we haven't spent time and energy investigating that already, because there has been time and energy spent on that already, and they didn't find what the president has claimed that is there. But we do have what the president was looking for, was the possibility of a problem, which has been created. And that is not in alignment with the integrity of the Constitution.
Right. So that would be a much more effective way for her to have communicated with that audience and probably gotten if not everybody in the audience on her side, but at least saying, wow, she's a person of integrity. She's
Right.
smart. I'm not going to rig her over the coals for this vote to
That's correct.
impeach, right?
That's right.
And
At least I have a new kind of certainty. The kind of certainty that this person is being thoughtful. And then I would, if I would have heard, I would have said, listen, there was some other evidences in the Mueller report that kind of showed that there was some obstruction. I was willing to let those things pass because I was interested in the votes of your vote towards Trump. But this is something that I can't look away from.
right, this one crossed the line. And really, that's what she did in the town hall. Is she talked about what the tipping point for her was,
Yes.
and that there was a problem and a violation of the Constitution that she personally just could not let go. So she went into the place that we see most often of explanation of why she voted the way she did, rather than
Right.
show empathy and compassion for others that are thinking that she might have made the wrong vote, and helping them to realize why, in fact, what she did is in alignment with supporting the Constitution,
Right.
and they should all want her to support the Constitution. Anyway,
Yeah.
it would have been a very different experience.
Very
And
different. Yeah.
boy, these politicians get elected despite their communication skills, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. They somehow get a. And by the way, this is why most people stay home. The reason why they stay home is that there's not inspiration from the inside. There's just the dangling of possibility from the outside. And most people go like, "You're dangling the possibility, but I'm not believing that you can do it." Because you don't have the leadership and communication skills. All you have is your name on a sign, and you have enough money to stick it around on our lawns. So very, very challenging. Very, very
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. A la Mike Bloomberg, who now has just put $30 million into essentially putting signs on lawns. Of course, those lawns are television screens and are, cell phones and, on
That's right.
social media and all that. It'll be interesting to see how effective that is.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. He does have a great sense of focus, and he has a quality of decision making that has made him very successful. And now, creating the internal motivation to get people to extend trust in his direction will be very, very interesting to see how that works. So
Good.
anyways, well, more to come on this, Tom. This has been a great discussion about how, and I want to thank the listener that wrote in about dismantling belief structures so that they can hear the truth, because biases create certainties, and your bias and my bias creates a certainty that allows us to wake up in the morning and make decisions during the day, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're all the right ones.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I do appreciate the listener that wrote in as well. And I would encourage other listeners to write in. You can help shape some of this discussion that we have, each week. Actually a couple times a week now. And I like how you were able to use the town hall with Representative Slotkin to show about, maybe it wasn't breaking beliefs as much in that situation as
Right.
it was, showing empathy and compassion, which allows people to to feel a little more comfortable, I guess, and open their minds to be able to hear truth.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah. It really does. It really allows that opportunity. All right, Tom. Until our next one, looking forward to pick this up, and feel free to reach out. Those of you out there listening.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth Podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.